Hola, Brad. Bueno, está también con nosotros el maravilloso Simu Liu. Hola, Simu. Y por supuesto la icónica Jennifer Lopez. Pues si quieren... me pongo yo.
Aguántenme plazas atrás, por favor, les damos su chance. Gracias.
Sí, voy.
¿Me dejas una ahí?
¿Están bien?
¿Qué?
Yeah.
There's the three of you. Yeah.
Your visit?
Too much. I've been enjoying. Mexico knows how to party. I can't lie. They have a lot of good food and good wine,
Yeah,
and
it's all a big party.
no sleep, and it's a good time.
Yeah, nice to have you here. So I guess we have some questions from the press, and I'm going to be making those questions for you guys. We're going to start with Argentina. This question comes from Argentina. Cinefan Girls, Argentina, Mariquela Calvo Ford, pregunta que mandó online, y this question is for Jennifer Lopez. In Atlas, you portray a cunning and formidable woman. Which iconic female characters from science fiction films inspired your creation of this role?
I mean, I think there was two very specific ones, and actually one of them I remember, and I didn't think about it when I was doing Atlas, but Terminator 2 with Linda Hamilton. I don't know if you guys remember that film, but for me, she was the baddest of the baddest bitches ever. You know what I mean? Like, I just remember being in the theater, watching it in New York, like, oh my God, I want to be her so bad. I'm going to be an actress, and that's what I'm going to do. And I didn't really ever get to do it when I was younger, and so now to be able to do something like it, it's not exactly that, but that type of character. The other character that I really loved and that Brad and I spoke about very much while we were filming was Ripley in Alien. Sigourney Weaver. So those two for me were the most iconic kind of sci-fi action movie characters that...
One of the reasons why I love Cameron, right, is Aliens,
Right.
where he works with Sigourney, and then Linda Hamilton in Terminator, and the tone that he makes and how awesome he makes female badass women. You're just like,
Yeah.
that guy is the greatest at doing this, and so yeah, those are the two excellent touchstones.
What about you, Simu? Did you get inspiration from any science fiction characters?
Yeah, I mean, playing Harlan as an artificial intelligence, I think there's a lot of blueprints out there. I think starting from Kubrick in 2001, even like the voice of Hal, who is so kind of even-keeled and chilling. And then, I was a huge Star Trek fan growing up, so I loved Brent Spiner as Data. I thought was phenomenal, and so I just tried to take, although those are all kind of friendly AIs, but I tried to take that voice and that kind of friendly disposition and kind of warp it in a way to make it unsettling and a little terrifying.
Yeah, that even tone is the thing that is kind of the scary.
That and the blue eyes, because I don't know if people know this, but Simu had contacts on the whole time, and he only told me after like 2 days, he's like, I can't really see you, Brad. And I was like, oh, so that's why you're staring through me.
So intense, I was just like...
He's just staring through everybody.
On set every day, like... and they
Where is everybody?
Yeah, and they were like, oh, that's good, keep doing it. And I was like, okay.
Bueno, la pregunta era que en qué personajes se habían inspirado para sus papeles, personajes de ciencia ficción. Y Jennifer dice que se inspiró mucho en Sarah Connor de Terminator 2. Y también en el personaje de Sigourney Weaver en Alien, que fue algo que platicaron también con Brad, el director, como que estuvieron ambos de acuerdo que estos, ¿no? Que son maravillosos los personajes super badass, personajes femeninos. Y Simu dice que es muy fan de Star Trek, entonces se fue mucho por allá, y también habló de Odisea en el espacio. Fueron como que, aunque son inteligencia artificial buena onda y su personaje no es tan buena onda, pero bueno, que tomó inspiración de por allá. La siguiente pregunta viene de Editorial Televisa. Eurídice Garavito García pregunta para Jennifer Lopez. What challenges does humanity face regarding artificial intelligence? What aspects of new technologies do you find most surprising?
I mean, technology is advancing all the time, and obviously there's a lot of it that makes me nervous. I mean, you know, when you think about artificial intelligence, and even this movie itself kind of shows you, does a good job of showing both sides of the story, which is kind of what can go really, really right with AI and how we can really use them to be a greater version of ourselves in a way, and then how it can go really, really wrong with like Simu's character, where they can destroy and take over and kind of obliterate humanity. So I think right now, for me, when I think about it, it's a big question, right? There's an idea of like we have to have a lot of respect when it comes to artificial intelligence. It's just like any technology. I remember in the music business when the internet came around and everybody was like, oh, it's never gonna take over music. And it was like, okay, well that happened. And so you just have to really be open to the fact that there's gonna be changes all the time, and not changes that some people can predict and some people just can't foresee because we get so stuck in our own reality. But yeah, I think it's about respecting it and not letting it kind of take over in any way, but using it to aid us in the best ways that it can.
It's all about balance.
Of course.
Bueno, tenemos una pregunta de Brasil, fan influencia, es de Diogo Cunha, y the question's for Jennifer Lopez. With an impressive career and numerous films to your credit, do you still experience those famous butterflies in your stomach when working on projects like the new Netflix film, Atlas?
I have butterflies right now. I always have butterflies. I don't think, you know, it ever gets old to me, no matter how long I've been in this business. I always feel the excitement of doing what I do and being able to be blessed to do what I do. For me, it is a huge, you know, privilege to be able to find something so young that I was so passionate about in entertaining and performing and singing and dancing and acting and producing, and be able to be doing that my whole life. And so, you know, yes, I still get butterflies. I'm more at home, actually, believe it or not, on stage in front of, you know, 30,000 people than I am in a room like this. You know what I mean? I'm more at home in, you know, on the set, in a little 2x2 with a green screen behind me and make believing I'm falling through the planets.
I can attest to that.
Acting crazy and, you know, have my adrenaline at 100 and really acting and, you know, just putting myself in another realm. I feel very comfortable in those situations, I guess because I've been doing it a long time.
I think it shows. I mean, I think we were remember on our content day when we were reviewing your Super Bowl footage, and I was just like, you're one of the best to ever do it. Period. You know?
Simu.
Whoa, really?
Yes, you got your own question.
But that for me?
Para ti, from Brazil. What is it like to work with Jennifer Lopez, who's often regarded as the premier action actress of our century?
It's amazing. The question was, what is it like to work with Jennifer Lopez, one of the most iconic performers of our generation and of all time?
I'm sorry.
It was great. You know, I remember one of the first days I showed up to set, and you know, my part in the movie, you know, as the villain, you know, I come in a little bit later, but I come to set and I'm like, hey Jen, how are you? You know, she was so like, she just seemed like such a trooper in that little canopy where she and Smith resided for so much of the movie, you know, and I was like, hey, how's it going? She's like, I've been here for 6 weeks. How are you? And I'm like, well, I have no right to complain. I mean, no, it was awesome. It was awesome. It was inspirational. I definitely had butterflies, you know, showing up to set, knowing that I was gonna have to work with her. In my mind, she's always made in Manhattan, Jen. So it was tough for me to get into the mindset of trying to kill her. It was very not what I would say would be my natural state, but it was incredible. It was incredible, and I've so appreciated getting to know her better over the course of even promoting this movie as well.
been so fun. Thank you.
In my mind, you're dancing to Fiona Apple in Hustlers.
Right now?
Permanent.
Okay.
I go out of sight. I'm out of sight, Jennifer Lopez.
Are you out of sight? Wait a minute, and Hustlers. Got it.
Yes.
Maybe sprinkling of the cell. I love the cell too.
So there's a question for you, Brad, as well.
Wait, what's it like working with Jennifer Lopez?
It is not what's it like working with Jennifer Lopez. Your filmography reveals a strong focus on exploring nature. What inspired the shift to create a film centered around artificial intelligence?
I do love nature. I'm an avid hiker. I hike probably 2 or 3 times a week, so that just grounds me. I like being out and with just my thoughts, and a lot of rumination happens for me in that. I grew up on a highway outside of a town. Like, I didn't even have neighbors as a kid, so that's just like my natural state, I guess. But in all honesty, I didn't set out to make a movie about AI. What attracted me to this, besides working with Jen and Simu and Sterling, who couldn't be here today, was the theme of trust. I believe most of our meaningful relationships in our lives are built off respect and trust. And I think you can earn someone's respect relatively easily, but trust is something that I've found difficult to earn with people and also to have them earn from me. And so I was fascinated with this idea of this woman who just didn't trust. And for valid reasons. She has a childhood trauma she has to overcome. But that's what pulled me in. The complexity of it, the fact that she had been sort of abused by this AI and then was stuck in a machine that was run by AI, the irony of that made me smile when I read the concept. I was like, oh, that's really neat. And as a genre fan, and you can go all the way back to like James Whale in the 1920s, or like Creature from the Black Lagoon or King Kong. These are all genre films that are talking about things that were faux pas. You weren't allowed to talk about interracial relationships. You weren't allowed to have those conversations. So for me, using genre to dress up a movie about something that's like very heartfelt, very human, like our ability to trust and what we have to go through to trust, that's what I think makes great genre. So I can have explosions and I can have alien ships and I can have giant mech suits, but there's a super, super human element and theme in the movie, and that's really what pulled me in.
I like that.
You're welcome. Long-winded, but whatever.
So we have a question from Nueva Mujer, Karen Hernandez. She's right here, I think. And the question is for Jennifer Lopez. This film blends science fiction and action with a deep emotional core. How do you tap into Atlas' emotions and motivations to bring her character to life?
I mean, it's just like with anything when you're approaching it as an actress, you try to find the similarities to things that you have gone through in your own life, but also kind of your imagination, especially in a movie like this where there's tons of green screen, your imagination has to kind of run wild. And that's a big part of being an actor. And I think with Atlas, there was parts of her that were very similar to me. She's driven, she's strong, she's focused, she's passionate. And then there was parts of her that were very different from me. I wear my heart on my sleeve, and she was very closed off and didn't want to let anybody in. And it was just, for me, preparing for that and doing that, it was something that was very easy for me to kind of draw from my own life in a way. Different relationships and different things that I've been through, for sure.
One of the things too that I've mentioned to people, like, you have a lot of great virtues, but courage is probably the one that stood out for me, in the sense that, like, you were put inside of a mech suit by yourself for like 6 or 7 weeks, and a lot of actors or actresses would not be comfortable in that situation. But because you go out in front of stadiums of people as the lead, it's sort of like prepared you for a role like that, where you could just step out there and be like, okay, I can do
Yeah,
this.
it was like being on stage and doing a one-woman show for 6 or 7 weeks. It was a strange experience. I think a lot of actors would tell you that doing that kind of role where you're by yourself and having to imagine all that stuff is a challenging thing.
It actually has to do with the next question from El Comercio, Peru, Carla Magdalena Ocaña Ojeda. She's asking you, Jennifer, how challenging was it to perform in scenes where you were the sole visible character interacting only with the AI?
Yeah, I remember somebody was saying that Jodie Foster, when she did Contact, said that was the hardest acting that she ever had to do, because she just had to do it by herself and she had to use her whole imagination, and that's just what it was. And I remember thinking, when I read the script, oh, esto va a ser muy fácil. This is gonna be an easy job for me. It's gonna be me by myself. I'm gonna, I don't have to wait for anybody. I can show up, do my thing, couple of takes, go home. And it was so exhausting to kind of stay at this level of adrenaline of like, your life is over, you have to save the planet, you're in a life and death situation the whole entire time, that at the end of the day, I would just be so exhausted, not just emotionally, but physically, like from just like tensing up my body and throwing myself this way and that way and doing all these things and trying to concentrate and seeing things that weren't there and all these kinds of stuff. So yeah, I would walk home every day with what I would call the tired limp, which is, you're limping. Usually you limp because you're hurt, but when you limp because you're tired, you're kind of like just a limp from being exhausted. That's how I walk to my trailer every single night. So
I feel so bad right now.
It was exhausting, but it was also exhilarating in a lot of ways because it was a new type of thing that I had never done.
A doll and AI. Are there any? I mean, you can talk about the differences as well if you'd like.
Well, one,
Doll is more cute.
yeah, one.
You have to be so cute.
I don't remember Ken wanting
One's
the world.
One kind of surfs and does beach all day, and then at night does we party and we have choreographed dance sequences. And,
So fun.
And the other one is trying to obliterate humanity. So
Right, yeah.
it's kind of tough
Big
to find
difference.
similarities, I guess.
Because you're bringing to life both inanimate.
Inanimate. Neither of them have genitals. I did it. I found a similarity.
Thank you.
You're a genius.
No, ¿cómo dice genitals?
Genitales.
Genitales.
Ninguno genitales.
Ken y Harlan no tiene genitales.
Sí, se lo estaban preguntando. Ahora lo sabemos. Gracias,
You're
Simu.
De nada.
So we got a question from Milenio here in Mexico, Rosa Solano. Jennifer, in the film, your character distrusts artificial intelligence and has to work alongside it on a special mission. In real life, how much do you trust new technologies and how do you incorporate them into your daily activities? And I'm just going to go ahead and ask all of you guys the same question.
I zoned out because the question was for Jen. What was the question?
It's like, how do we use technology in our everyday lives and how do we embrace it?
And if you guys trust new technologies.
And do we trust it?
I'm not like a super technical guy, actually. I mean, everyone thinks like because I do lots of visual effects and explosions and stuff, I am, but I'm not. I'm actually more of like a pencil and light board, and like I come from animation, so.
Do you talk to your devices?
No,
No, I
I don't talk to my devices at
So
all.
weird.
Yeah.
No.
People turn on the lights and all that. It's kind of weird.
Do you guys use
People
like,
love it though.
GPT for anything?
I don't.
Yeah, I've started using ChatGPT to come up with travel itineraries for me. Like if I'm going somewhere, I'll be like, give me like a 3-day itinerary of Palermo, Italy, or like, Mexico City, 3 days. What would I do? And GPT will like tell you. You can say.
Tell me where the best places to shop and all that.
Yes, as long as it's before 2022 or wherever GPT goes up to. But you can say, this is where I'm staying. Find me an itinerary where like I'm not bouncing around the city, like where everything kind of makes sense, everything flows, and it'll spit something out.
Amazing.
Terrifying, but
So you do trust them?
I don't think I trust. Yeah, I'm not like divulging my deepest, darkest secrets, but I think we're on the precipice of like quite a revolutionary moment when it comes to AI. I think we all feel it. I think a lot of us in the entertainment industry feel it. A lot of us in the arts feel it, and I think scary is a great word, and I think it's imperative to me that we keep in mind humanity always comes first, and that decision making should always. I think Harlan is the perfect example of why AI should never be used for decision making. we should never let algorithms and data be the decision-making leaders. I mean, we should use those things to enhance and as tools and to inform, exactly, but never to lead. You know, I don't want to work in an industry where every single creative decision is made by data or an algorithm. I want these decisions to be made by passion and human emotion. You know, there's a filmmaker who loves to tell a story. This is the story they want to tell. Like, that's the movie that we should make. And if the story is true and the emotionality is there and the character is good, then people will watch it. Those things can't be quantified by data.
I had an interesting experience because I worked with a couple of futurists before we made the movie, and it was to do everything like talk about like weapon systems, propulsion systems, ecology. Like, I didn't want to show Los Angeles in the beginning of the movie like you'd seen it like with Mad Max or something where it's all sand dunes. Like, I wanted to try to figure out what would really happen in probably about 100 years. And that's why you see these giant arrays for solar power in our version of Los Angeles. And he had a really interesting thing that he said to me about AI, and it sort of was my true north for making the movie, and it was very much in line with what I wanted to do intuitively, which was, he said, AI is a tool. It's like a hammer. A hammer can do a lot of harm, and a hammer can do a lot of good. You know, like you could build a house with a hammer and save lives. And when he said that to me, I realized that's exactly what I want to do. I want to show that AI is something that's basically here today now, but it doesn't excuse us people from being responsible. We are the responsible entities of it. It is a tool. We have to take ourselves in full responsibility of how we use it. And this movie shows that. It shows the full good of it and how humanity can grow and expand and go way beyond itself. And then it shows how nasty Simu can be and try to kill everybody.
Please don't kill us.
Well, I promise.
So we have another question from Argentina, Magela Muso. This question is for you, Brad. At a time when there is widespread discussion about the negative impacts of AI, what message do you hope to convey to audiences about how we use technology and AI? Additionally, which film had the most influence on you while making this movie?
I feel like I just covered the AI part of it, right? The biggest influence, so, you know, I've said this and it's I mean, there's a lot. When you go in and you're a big fan of science fiction, there's a lot of movies that you grew up on, like some really abstract ones that people will never have heard of, like Robot Jocks. You'd have to be a real nerd like me to know what that is. But for me, the biggest influence is actually a filmmaker, and it's James Cameron. I saw Terminator 2 when I was 13, and I went to Subway and bought the cup that had the Terminator. Like, it was a big deal. Like, that was a huge movie. That might have been the movie of that summer, you know. And after I saw the movie, I lived in a small town, 9,000 people, called Gander, Newfoundland. It's where all the planes landed during 9/11. That's the only reason people know where it is at all. And after that movie, I realized James Cameron was Canadian. And that was the moment, as a kid, I was like, oh, you could come from Canada and go to Hollywood and be a filmmaker. And before that moment, I had no idea that was possible. You know, when you grow up and your mom's a nurse and your dad owns a flower nursery and there's 9,000 people and you live on a highway, you don't think, oh, I can go do that, you know? But when I saw that movie, I thought, oh, maybe I can do that one day. That part of it touched me as a person in a way, and I just locked onto that. And his movies have been so inspiring for me, from Aliens to Terminator 2, and then, you know, he goes and makes Titanic and Avatar. But I would say James Cameron's work in general has been the biggest influence. Specifically, I'd say Aliens. Like, when I got to shoot Harlan's Lair at the end of this movie, I was so happy because it vibed like Aliens. I was like, this is amazing. This is my dream come true.
We are in a crucial moment for women, and Atlas is the heroine that we all would like to be. In what way do you think Atlas represents the current women who are saving the world?
How do I think Atlas represents women saving the world? I mean, I feel like we've been saving the world from the beginning of time. Women, you know, I think Atlas is a great character. I think because of all of the toughness that she shows initially and all of the kind of fearlessness about going against, you know, kind of the powers that be, which is what you have to be a woman. That's what it is to be a woman. You have to kind of go against the grain. You have to fight harder. You have to do these things. But also for her tremendous vulnerability. and her tremendous kind of pain that she carries. I feel that as women, that is a big part of our journey as well, and she represents both sides of that in a really beautiful way, I think. And where she gets to at the end, you know, having started where she started, and then Smith kind of chipping away at her, getting inside that hard exterior that she's had to have her whole life, because everybody thinks she's crazy, nobody wants to listen to her. This is like experience that women have all the time. You know, she's criticized,
There's a lot of men in this movie that don't believe you.
that don't believe her.
Yeah.
You know, and I can understand and relate to that, and I know a lot of other women can too, especially in my own business, you know. You're criticized, you're put down, you're laughed at when you don't, you know, succeed, and then when you succeed, they want to tear it down. You know, there's always this thing as a woman, and especially as a Latina, to kind of in this business, to be taken seriously, to, you know, be working at the highest echelons of your industry and what that comes with. And I think Atlas really represents all of the greatest parts of women, their vulnerability and their strength and courage.
Well said. Yeah.
You know what doesn't, I feel like, actually get mentioned enough, if I could just end on one
Yes.
thing, is that Jen is a producer on this movie.
Yes.
And the reason why I'm here and the reason why Sterling was in this beautiful movie is because Jen cares. And Jen cares about things like representation and diversity. And she's a boss. And she's an incredible creative and an icon, and that's what I think we should celebrate her for today.
Gracias. Thank you so much. Muchas gracias a Brad Payton, muchas gracias a Simu Liu y también a Jennifer Lopez, por supuesto. Gracias. Recuerden que este 24 de mayo estrena Atlas en Netflix. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Un aplauso, por favor.
Los quiero. Gracias. Nadie me preguntó nada en español, pero ok.